Thanks for joining us. I'm Kizzi Nkwocha, publisher of My Entrepreneur magazine. Now, my next guest on the Entrepreneur Show is someone I've been dying to talk to for absolutely ages. Look, you know who she is. You've seen the photograph. You know what she does. But it says here on my notes that I've got to do a proper introduction. So, just for the record, Fleur is a career marketer and entrepreneur. She's lived in as well as founded and owned businesses in both her native Australia and Hong Kong. As the founder and principal of the marketing consultancy company, that's TMCC for short, Fleur has an innate and some would say almost uncanny understanding of the economics of business and the value of expert marketing and communications in every industry under the sun. Fleur, it's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Kizzi. What a lovely introduction.
Introduction? No, that was the entire interview. Thank you for joining us.
Superb. That's wonderful. I've had a lovely evening.
Well, that has to be the shortest interview in the history of the world.
Brilliant. Now, the transcript, I hope you don't pay more than $1 for the transcript. Now I'm giving away all my secrets.
Well, Fleur, you're one of the contributors to the Business Bible, Insiders Know How, Running Your Own Business. And your chapter is something that really struck a responsive chord with me because you dealt with the subject of starting and growing your e-commerce business. And this is something that we're all trying desperately to get a handle on. What made you focus on e-commerce as your subject for this book?
That's a really great question, actually. I've always loved product. I've been in business for quite a number of years. Your audience don't need to know how many. And I started off in importing and wholesaling giftware products, and have always had just a love for products, for trading, for buying, for presenting to my customers and then ultimately selling to them. So I've always done that in the offline world. I've had big warehouses both in Sydney and in Hong Kong, many suppliers all over the world, and really very, my whole family and my family business actually were very involved in wholesaling in Australia. And the advent of the online world in which we're all a part, probably only about 7 or 8 years ago, I thought, well, if I'm going to continue my love of product, I'm really going to have to dive deep into the e-commerce world. And I've never been a straight down the line entrepreneur. I've always done things probably a little bit crazily to the sensible pack. Most normal people would actually go and, if they wanted to learn a new industry like e-commerce, they'd go and get a great job with a fabulous corporate who paid them a beautiful cushy salary and taught them all they needed to know. I didn't do that. I actually went off to 9 different countries and imported product from all over the place and came back to Australia and thought, right, I'd better start selling some of this thing, so I'd better start teaching myself how to build some websites. One of those very early websites was a huge success and continues to be. And one of those very early websites was a huge disaster, financially, emotionally, ego-wise. And it was after that I thought, wow, I probably couldn't have chosen a harder route to learn the e-commerce track, but now I have so much information and so much knowledge that it's not that I can only help people start their own e-commerce journey, but I can really steer them away from the rocks, a lighthouse, if you will, and navigate them away from the pitfalls that I suffered from just ignorance, I guess, and pardon me, and learning the hard way. So it really became a mixture between my love of online marketing and my love of buying and selling products, which led me down the e-commerce route.
I know it sounds like an odd question, especially in 2017, but just how important is it to have an effective online presence as a business?
I think it is crucial. Now, I actually just wrote an article for a large online publication here in Australia on exactly the same topic. And it really made me think about my answer for that. And the analogy that I used to explain in my document was, in the 1990s, if you didn't have a fax, you really weren't in business. And today is exactly the same. With the variety of websites that you can have, whether you're a service-based business or a product-based business, whether you're wholesale or retail, it actually doesn't matter. Your online presence is akin to what a business card was oh golly, only probably about 15 years ago. Even if you have a one-page website or just a fabulous LinkedIn profile, your online presence is just crucial. It's indispensable in this day and age.
Here's a question for you. Is it possible to have a business without having an online presence?
Absolutely. It definitely is. And there's many companies that do it. Say, for example, if you're a manufacturing company and you're manufacturing, I don't know, let's say tyres, sort of mid-range tyres for cars. Now, your clients, let's just pretend that you're a manufacturer, wholesaler. Now, all of your clients are retailers. All of your clients need to know your brand, need to know the quality of the tyres, need to know the price of the tyres. But really, are they going to stop buying from you just because you don't have an online presence? And the answer is, of course not. So it's horses for courses. However, the owner of that business, I would suggest, would be far better off having a fabulous profile on something like LinkedIn. So having some form of online footprint, but they don't necessarily have to have a website. It's one of those things that you don't have to run your business, but it is a phenomenal tool and an easy way for your end consumer, your customer, to get to know, like and trust you just a little bit faster.
Wise words indeed. Okay, look, let's create a hypothetical situation. Imagine that I'm an entrepreneur who's just created a brand new product that I'm convinced will revolutionize the world or is going to change the way people do things. It's got a market out there. And I've listened to Fleur and I know that what she says makes a lot of sense. I do need to have an online presence. How do I get started? What do I do first?
The very first thing I suggest to people, now it might sound a little bit biased on account of I'm an online marketing strategist, but I can't underestimate the power of actually getting very good advice straight up. There are a huge amount of very user-friendly tools that you can buy very inexpensively and get set up and going very, very quickly. What I find with most of my clients and with most of the just general public, general e-commerce business startups that I speak to, they go down the track of, oh, well, I have a great product. It's a fabulous idea. I've got to get this online. Right. So I'm going to jump on XYZ platforms. So that might be Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce. I'm certainly not affiliated with anyone. So I'm there's no bias with anyone. But they might jump on something and decide that, oh, this is a very user-friendly website. I can set this up in 3 hours. And this is great. Now I'm online and selling. And then, oh, hang on, everyone's on Facebook. So great. If I just put up a business Facebook page, well, how easy is that? That only took me 10 minutes to set that up. Oh, and Twitter. Everyone said that's pretty good. And Instagram. Most people between 18 and 34 are on Instagram. So I must get on Instagram. Then they do all of these things. And in their first week, might take them a month, might take them 6 months. They've suddenly got all these tools. They've got their website. They have their Facebook presence. They have their Twitter presence, their Instagram presence. And all they're hearing is crickets. There's no customers, there's no traction, there's no engagement, because they don't know what to do with all of those tools. And I liken a lot of analogies about e-commerce, I liken to a house build. It's very unlikely that you would buy a very expensive piece of land and go to build a house and say, do you know what, I can go on YouTube and learn how to build that house. Because the chances are you can go on YouTube and learn to build that house. But when you're dealing with such a large investment as your home, you'd usually go to an architect and get an architect to design your home. Then you'd go to a builder and get a licensed, very skilled craftsman or builder to build your house. Then you'd move into your house. And then, I'm not very good at doing all the interior design or choosing the carpet. So I might bring in an interior designer and that person will actually make all of that beautiful for me. And so then at the end of that, then you want to show all of your friends and your family what your house looks like. Now that's easy. You send out a whole lot of invitations. You've got lots of lovely friends and family that want to support you and want to see your new house. That's fabulous. You've been able to show them all your new house. Now, if we use the same analogy with a website or with an e-commerce business, very few e-commerce business owners consult the architect or the strategist in this case. Very few go and consult the website developer or the website designer. They'll sit there and put up their hands, I'll do this myself. It'll take an afternoon. Won't be very good. It'll be sound, probably not structurally sound, but it'll be okay. And then they need all the carpets and they need all the windows and the furnishings. So they go and get an online, get a Facebook business profile and an Instagram business profile. Then they build all of those things, but then they don't know what to do with it. They don't know which couches that go in which room, and they don't know which cushions go on which couch. Then comes the crux. Then they have to actually sell their product. But all of a sudden, this business is no longer their home. They actually can't just go out to their friends and family and say, come into my home. And in this circumstance, that's their business. They actually have to reach people that have never heard of them, never seen of them, have never known of their product before. And without the right advice, they're probably going to get that wrong too. So my very first go-to, and it is not expensive, it needn't cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, but my very first go-to for any e-commerce business would seriously be get some great advice from someone who has done it before, someone that's done the hard yards, not just someone that's learned it in a textbook. Get the information, get the advice from someone who's done it before, and get the advice from someone who's done it with other people before. So you can learn their testimonials and, I guess, really know, like, and trust them before you start working with them.
And what sort of website platform would you recommend to a new startup business? Is there a particular platform that you think lends itself to new entrepreneurs, or does that really depend on the type of business you're in?
It definitely depends on the type of business, but in absolute general terms, if you are a service-based business, that means you're an accountant or you're a lawyer or you're a hairdresser, I would suggest that you work on a WordPress. That's WordPress.org platform, not WordPress.com, which is their blogging platform. And if you're an e-commerce based business, I would always start off with Shopify. Both of those platforms allow they're both what's called open source platforms. Both of them allow huge scope in the applications that plug into them, in the ability to build on your site as the years go by, or as the weeks and months and years go by. And both of them brilliantly are so user-friendly. So as a complete novice to the website world, even if you have just never known anything technical, you can get a couple of hours here and there of learning, and you can really get your business started up really, really easily. You know, WordPress.org would cost you for a theme up front and usually cost you for the hosting and for upgrades. You could spend anywhere between sort of $59 and probably $250 a year as a basic account. With Shopify, you can really spend as little as the basic costs, not including fees on products sold, but as the basic cost, you can spend as little as $29 US a month. So both of them are very cost effective and very user friendly.
Okay, well, continuing our little scenario, imagine I've got this online business. I've sought the advice of people who have created websites in the past, and I might have somebody working with me to develop one. I've signed up with either WordPress or Shopify, and I'm rearing to go. But is there anything that I need to do before we launch the business? Is there anything that we should make sure we've done before we make ourselves known publicly?
Well, there's the two separate sides of business. There's the service-based businesses and the product-based businesses. For both of them, I would always do a pre-launch marketing campaign. And that is very much, it's exactly the same as just getting getting as many of your potential target market excited in your new venture, whether that's a service or a product. Now, I've just mentioned the word target market there, which I probably should have said a little bit earlier. Identifying your target market is absolutely essential. Not only identifying your target market, where, their age, where they live, their buying habits, but also what are their pain points. Once you figure out what their pain points are, you can serve your service or your product so much better, so much easier. And you can actually then present them with a solution to their pain point. And that can all come out in the pre-launch marketing campaign. Now, a pre-launch marketing campaign might go anywhere from 2 weeks to sometimes 3 or 4 months before a website is launched. I suggest for e-commerce sites that it's a little bit longer. I suggest creating some competitions. I always love just creating some buzz and creating some what I call share and engagement activity. Things on your social media and within your online marketing and offline marketing that cannot ever be forgotten, that make your customers excited about your coming product. They might want to be first on your VIP list. They might want to be a VIP because that gives them 20% discount on your opening sale. They might just want to be first to get your product. When we're talking about the sale of apps or technology, you really want to capture that first user, that hungry person that needs to get the products quickly and first to market. They need to be the first person to see that technology. They're going to want to be on that list for weeks, if not months beforehand, to make sure they're one of the first to have that app or that piece of technology in their hands. So pre-launch campaigns are always a fabulous way to drum up some interest around your business.
Some really valuable words of wisdom there. If you're an entrepreneur and you're just about to launch your own business, don't forget to take on board the pre-launch marketing campaign. As Fleur says, this will help you identify your target market. You'll also have an insight into their pain points and what you can do to help address these pains. And if you are going to launch a pre-launch marketing campaign, you've got to give it time, anywhere between 2 weeks to maybe 3 to 4 months. One last question before we wrap up, Fleur. If anyone wants to get hold of you to discuss how they can really harness the power of social media to promote their business, what's the best way to get through to you? Is there a website that's got your contact details that people can go to? I
do, absolutely, Kizzi. My website is tmcc.marketing. And the email address is just simply info@tmcc.marketing. I can be reached, all the contact details are actually on my website, but I can also be reached on Skype, which I find a lot of questions that people who may or may not end up being my clients just want to ask a couple of upfront questions. They're just not sure where they're going or how they're going to start. And I'm very happy to give a little bit of free advice, time permitting, of course, to anyone that's really interested in learning more about that. And they can reach me on Skype. And my Skype handle is just simply fleur.filmer. And also contact me on LinkedIn through exactly the same handle.
Which do you prefer?
Either or. LinkedIn, I have open all day, every day. And Skype, I'm only on twice a day. So probably LinkedIn would be the fastest.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I reckon that if you are looking to run your own online business, the first thing you should be doing is talking to Fleur and taking on board some of the ideas that we've covered in this interview. From everything Fleur says, it sounds like a pre-launch marketing campaign could be critical to the survival and success of your new online venture. You've got to identify your target market. You've got to find out what their pain points are and how you can address these pain points. And also you've got to try and bear in mind the time factor. Give this pre-launch marketing campaign the time it deserves. We're looking at between 2 weeks to maybe 3 to 4 months. That sounds just about right. Fleur, it's been an unspeakable pleasure talking to you, and I'm definitely keeping your number handy. Thank you so much for your time. Do you know, I suspect that with your advice, we could actually make this idea of an online business really work.
Well, let's hope so, Kizzi. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.